Good afternoon. So while I've been waiting for these parts to arrive, I've been doing a couple of odd jobs around the car. So like replacing the fuel filter on the fuel pump and cleaning the fuel filter that's actually in the pump. So this is where I'm at. So here, there's the fuel filter, as you can see there. And then underneath here is the fuel pump. So this part here screws off. Undo that in an anti-clockwise direction, and then you clean the filter that's underneath there. Put it all back together again, and Bob's your uncle. So this is the filter that actually came out. I'm not sure if you can see how clearly you can see that. Hello chickens. So not much fuel has been travelling through that connection, I do believe, because the pipe actually went onto this bit here and was clamped on there. Alright, bit of grub in there as well, so it was about time to clean it. Alright, so that's one of the little jobs that I'm doing around and about. I've been cutting the plastic out for the door so I can stick that on. Just got to get a little bit of mastic now so I can stick them on the inside of the door, and it's gone very dark. Alright, so that's that little job done. There's a new oil fuel filter in the line on the Holly that came in the kit, so I've got like 3 filters now between the tank and the carburetor. And I think I'll leave it there for now unless I think of anything else. So these are just little odd jobs I'm doing while I'm waiting for parts. That's the frustrating part, waiting for parts. Alright, I'll speak to you soon. Good afternoon. The thread restorer kit arrived. There is some brand names knocking around. One of them's Helicoil. So as you would have seen in a previous video, I had a bit of a picture of joy when the bolts came out and the threads were all a bit munted. So I got all the threads out, as I would have, all the Helicoil or the thread restorers out, and threw them away. And then the kit arrived. So the kit arrives with a tap, an oversized drill to drill the hole for the tapping size. You get an Allen key to mess around with this, which is the insertion tool. And then you come with the inserts. So because the threads are so badly damaged in this one, I had to have like 4 goes or 2 goes each at one of the holes, because when I was screwing the thread in, it would jump a thread, and then when you jump a thread, then the bolt won't screw in. So I had to pull them out, and I find it better to check that the thread is good when you have still one piece of this still just at the top here. So if it is damaged, you can flick it out and drag it out with a pair of pliers, which I had to do. So that's all been done. And then when you're screwing it in with this tool here, I found that as you turn to screw it in, if you put a bit of a lift on it, then it helps to keep the thread in the actual thread. If you push down as you screw in, then it's got a chance that this will jump a thread. It's more likely with the UNF or the finer threads rather than the coarser UNC and coarse metric threads. I think that's all I have really. Use a tap wrench, make sure everything's square, and then just screw them in, and then check the bolt into the hole before you commit it to the deep, and just screw it in one hole below the thread. The insertion one thread below where the surface of the metal is. Alright, so they're all done now. All 5 of those are done. One was an original, which is this one. The other 4 have been replaced, and as you can see, maybe, I'm not sure, you can see in there, you can see the threads are all aligned and in good condition. So I'll take this up to the shed now, and I'll fit this to the axle after I put the disc on. So I'll go and get the disc and I'll put that on, and then we'll go from there. Alright, I'll continue on this video when I've put the axle back together again. So this little segment is about setting the axial float on the rear hub, on the rear axle of a Range Rover Classic, and mine's a 1983. I'm not sure that they'll be that different because they all seem to give the same numbers and stuff for the whole range through to 1990. So anyway, the hub has been assembled. So obviously the oil seal is on correctly on the other side. The two taper roller bearings are in position, and I've greased them up. There's the spacer washer that goes between the bearing and the nut that's on already, and then there's the nut here, which is a 52mm nut, I do believe. And I'm going to tighten this up solid now. Then I'm going to take a reading with my depth mic, and I'll show you the reading, and then I'll show you how I work it out from there. So hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing here. If I put that like that, and that like that, and that like, oh dear, come on. Give me some, work with me camera, work with me. Alright, so, yeah, 52mm socket. So I will tighten this up now. So it's pretty, that's pretty solid. So you can still turn the disc, the hub, you can still turn it. And I get my depth mic out, and I go from the front face of there to the front face of the nut till it just touches. And then I'm going to show you, focus on that. So you don't need to worry about all the other numbers, but the number to be important is 13. Right, so you want the 6 off the 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so I want to get it around the number 7. All right, so I will back it off. I will back it off a flat now and then see what that does. Right, so that's like half a flat. So this takes you to the 6th hour, which is the maximum clearance. So that is on a 6. So I will just nip it up just a gnat's noodly. And that's all it is, it's just a fraction. Alright, so that's between 7 and 8 now. So that is a little bit, just a little bit on the tight side. But anyway, that's alright, that's fine. So I had to drill a couple of holes because the tab washer they supply now is flat and it's off the later axle. So you drill a couple of holes on either side of this tang and then you file it so that it fits. That goes on there like that. And then this little lock nut goes on here like this. And the object of the exercise now is that the inner nut doesn't turn as you tighten that up. Okay, so that's now done. So I won't bore you with and that's it, tight now. So it's all set, all good. Got the right amount of, it's got quite a bit of drag on it now because I've got grease in the bearings, but once the oil gets in there it'll free up. Alright, so that's it, done and dusted. And that's how I do it myself, and feel free to copy if you so desire. And now you just tap one tab over that way, and then you get a little lever in and you tap this one this way. so it locks both the lock nuts in position. All right, so there we go with that. I'll leave it at that for now. I'm no doubt there'll be more to add on to this video at some point. Good afternoon. Here we are. The tubing, the heat resistant tubing has arrived for the wiring, so I've now installed that around the starter motor. I've now also tightened up both extractors or headers, depending on where the world you come from. So you can see this now. So as you would expect, this didn't line up, so I had to cut this, and I've ordered a flexi to go between here and here. Trying to find a 42mm flexi was entertaining, to say the least. Anyway, I think I found one. I had to cut a little bit off this extractor on the left hand side because, well, this one was alright. Well, this one's better. This one was a little bit long. So I've cut about 8mm off, I think it is. So I've cut that much off, 8 to 10mm off that. So that now fits there, and that sort of aligns axially with this. So I can get that to work, because it's okay pushing in, but I've got a diaphragm here that activates the diff lock. So I think I'll be wrapping this. I think. I'll have to see how it will work out. It's a bit close, but it's tight pulling this off here to go onto there, you see. You know, it's tight going on in the first place. That is everything. But anyway, I think you can see up here now, you can see from the underside view of the if you can see that there. So now you can see the live cable there with the black on it, which is sort of inverse to the way it's supposed to be. The wiring's back on the starter motor. You can see that. And then this group of wires here is covered here and cable tied to the top of the starter motor to try and keep it away from the cable. For the live cable is as good as I can get it to middle for diddle on that, so that minimises, well, the best that your heat can get on that one. So we'll see how that all works out. And I've also done the crankcase vent to the oil catch can, which I'll show you when I've dropped the hoist to the ground. Good afternoon, Sunday afternoon. Finished off the crankcase breather off the rocker covers, so I've done that now. So there you can see that. That's the bright orange pipe that comes off there, comes around the back, goes to a T-piece there, and then goes into the catch can here. So yeah, got the colour coordinated cable ties on it. Just got 2 more to put on, and then that's that done. Got a view from above on the, you can see there the heat wrap, and then you've got the live lead down there going up to the suspension mount there. That's all now been done in tape. It's in the middle as you can get it. So now I just have to wait for the parts again for the flexi now, for the extractor at the back. Then I can weld the 2 pieces of exhaust together at the back underneath. In the meantime, I will finish off the rear axle. When the bolts arrive, they should arrive this week. And then, yeah, so finishing on a positive note, as we always do, the battery's charged. So yeah, there's a good one. So there you go, battery's charged. That's the best positive one I've got for you right now. There's a bit of negative in there as well, obviously. But anyway, that's it for today and for this video. So look forward to you subscribing. Thank you for the likes. Any comments you've got? Well, I remember there's a gentleman who asked about piping the charcoal canister up. Well, I've been through a few other avenues, right, and I'm going to plug this off. I'm not going to connect this, so I'm leaving that off. And there was another gentleman who was asking about removing heat from the engine bay, so I've written an explanation to him about that. So that's why I fitted the Revertech fans, because they are independent of the engine, so they can move significantly more air to cool this general area when they start up, when the engine gets up to normal running temperature and a little bit beyond. You can ceramic coat the extractors like I did on the MGB, so 2 coats external, 1 coat external. So I did that when I did the supercharging. Did I notice a difference? I don't know, but I know the fans make a significantly bigger difference. People do fit louvers around this area here on the bonnet, or some fit them in the top up there, somewhere around in the middle up there. I fitted some chrome ones. I don't think they made much difference. That's my own personal opinion. When I had a Range a while back that had a 4.6 in here, and yeah, I'm not sure whether it made that much of a difference. All right, so that's it for today, this video. Again, thank you for subscribing, thank you for watching, and many thanks, and I'll say bye for now.